Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the Manny Diaz Show. Joe Zagacki with my broadcast partner, Don Bailey Jr., of course, University of Miami head coach Manny Diaz. This week, the home opener for the University of Miami at Hard Rock Stadium, 7 o'clock kickoff against Appalachian State, and it will be great to see fans in the stands at Hard Rock Stadium. We'll talk about that momentarily. Coach, first we look back at last week's game, Alabama. I thought your team played hard, thought the effort was there. Sometimes the execution was a little bit off.
Yeah, our guys did play hard. We competed to the end, but to compete against a team like Alabama and their level of play, we were going to have to really be on point. And they beat us in all the critical moments. Really, the pathway that we saw towards victory. We had to possess the ball in offense, get tempo going. To eventually wear down their defense, because those guys are hard to block. That'll be as good of a defense as there is in America this year. There won't be anybody better. There might be one as good. And the way to do that was we had to keep their offense off the field. We got them in a third down. That depended a lot on how we played run defense. And actually, I was, from where we were a year ago, I was pleased with how we defended the run, their stretch and counter. We looked better versus the run that we did last year. We're still not there yet. Our guys, in film study, we showed them how much even better we could be. But to get them in 14 third down and 5 or more is, if you would have offered me that before the game, I'd have ripped your hand off shaking it. And we lost 10 of the 14, and that to me is a game. Their quarterback made the plays, made better calls than I made on stopping the third down. We showed them Clemson, Alabama. Deshaun Watson, Clemson's first national championship under Dabo. Clemson gained 12 yards on the first play of the game. They didn't gain double-digit yards against Alabama's defense until the 33rd play of the game, and by that point it was 14-0 Alabama. They won the game on the 103rd play of offense, and Bama ran 70 plays, Clemson ran 103, and that's usually been the formula people have had to beat them, and that was what we had to do. We ended up going the opposite. We allowed them to control the game in the first half. They stayed on the field. Of course, those drives turned into scoring drives, and then by the time we really got our rhythm on offense, the scoreboard was already out of hand.
Man, I want to go back and revisit the run defense. I think it was 3.8 yards per carry, one back at 60 yards, everybody else below that. I think coming into that ball game, or let's go back to historic numbers for Alabama. That's a rare occurrence that they were held to that kind of yards per carry and total number.
Yeah, I think Georgia had them, 43 for 147 last year. We were right around that same deal, and everybody knows Georgia's got a great front. So again, where we were a year ago, that's an improvement. And why do you play great run defense? That gives you the ability to put them in long yard situations. We also had double-digit tackle for losses, which you don't probably get very often versus Alabama. It adds to the disappointment of letting him off the hook. But in the foundation going forward of what it takes to play a great defense, we know we were substandard in how we defended the run a year ago. So there is some positive to take away. Now the question is, will our guys work this week to not be satisfied, to even recognize, we can do some good things. Let's take this whole thing to a different level.
Everybody thought going in outside, Alabama's got all these new players in offense. The curse of that is with those new players on offense, including the quarterback, is there's not a lot of evidence of what they can do. And I thought your strategy was the right one. Let's see if he can make some plays. You were able to really shoot through gaps and get some pressure on him. To his credit, he made some plays.
He made plays, and he also made plays of avoiding disasters. There was one time Flag had him in the backfield, and he on a bootleg, and he able to throw the ball to at the feet of a tight end that wasn't grounding. Of course, there was a one in the safety. That was for a young guy, that's a special play to avoid a safety. We had him dead to rights in the end zone. There were 3 or 4 other times where we had him sacked and he got out of there just to throw it away. But the plays he made and his accuracy off platform, I thought was a difference. Normally when you get young guys off the spot, they kind of go crazy and they can throw it to you. And not just did he make the right decision, but he was very accurate with it. And that's, you got to tip your hat to a guy making plays like that. To that being said, we can still rush better and we can cover better to make it harder on him or anybody else we play this year.
Manny Diaz King on Saturday, 8 months to the day when he had injured his knee, goes into the ball game, got banged around a little bit, but threw the ball well. Looked like he was way ahead of schedule of what anybody else would have been with that kind of injury. Your overall assessment of how he played in the game?
Yeah, I thought Derek was courageous. He made some tough decisions, but he was very accurate with it, and that's, you got to give it to him. He made the right decision, but he was very accurate with it, and that's, you got to give it to him. He got Alabama was sending all kinds of pressures and stunts and movements, every time we dropped back to throw the ball, and it's a handful for the offensive line to pick up. Our offensive line got better as the game went on, sort of settled down, and we're able to get those defensive ends. You won't find two better looking and playing defensive ends anywhere in the country. So they've got great equipment. Like I said, that's as good of a team as I've seen in the 6 years I've been in Miami. So for Derek to be your first game back in and stand in on that rush and make some of the throws he made, like I said, the word to me is courageous.
Along those lines, Coach, you talked a little bit about possessing the ball, and that was important. That was one of the reasons I think you tried to establish a run game early on against Alabama.
Yeah, well, that was some of we did, and like they did to us, we had some RPOs attached to the run game, and I think one of the disappointments for us is that we didn't always make the proper decision on the runs and the RPOs. Some of the runs that you saw early on that didn't go for very much, the ball should have been spit out to the outside, which they did to us, at times, and we're able to get some good yards. And, those type of things, if on first and second down, you got to run with an RPO and you hand it off when you had really good throw looks, it's going to be 3rd and 10. That's really hard against their defense. I think our first run of the game, we ripped them for about 6 up the middle because they covered the RPO, but that left them light in the box. And that's the chess match that is college football every time there's a running play called in this day and age.
Coach Mike Harley came out of the ball game. Give us a little update on him, but then you got Restrepo and Rambo and Smith. Well, those young men played a very good football game and not many drops. I mean, we were plagued by drops last year and almost non-existent in this ball game.
Yeah, obviously we hated to lose Mike, but hopefully the prognosis is good about getting him back for this week. But we knew that going this year to be the offense we want to be, that taking a step forward at the wide receiver position would be key to that, right? And I did. I thought a lot of the guys, made tough catches. We'll talk more about that later, but that had kind of been a point of emphasis all year is, make the tough catches. We only had one drop on the day, and now Restrepo, who's, you're almost surprised to see him drop one, but he made up for it by making a spectacular catch in the end zone that to be honest, every time we scrimmage, the guy's been out there, he makes that play every single time. So when the ball was in the air and I saw him in the position with the DB, I said, I know how this is going to end. It's going to be a touchdown for Miami because I've seen him do it so many times.
That was a heck of a catch, though. Also, I mean, there was you're well aware of how to cover those guys, and the way he kept focused on that football.
That's my point. In practice, I've been rooting against him as a defense coordinator. So when the ball was in the air, I knew it was getting ready to happen.
We should probably also find some other perspective in this as well as we look as we were able to see some of your young players. Alabama has done this to a lot of teams. It's also Nick Saban's 15th year there, building his roster, which is a very deep roster filled with players from all over the country. This is the 3rd year of you trying to build a championship roster, and we're starting to see some of those young players get integrated into your roster.
Yeah, well, that's the part that's so disappointing. And I hate to keep harping on the 3rd downs. I mean, obviously, look, they were better than us. You have to hold your hands up and acknowledge that, but. I mean, we get him in 3rd and long to start the game, and if we can, Mari Carter knocks the running back over on his way in the blitz, right in the quarterback's face. He does leave the ball. It's not one of his more accurate throws. It's a comeback. He leaves the ball on the high side of the receiver, and we got a chance to get a PBU right there if we just play with a little bit better technique. And man, the energy in the sideline to get a 3-and-out to start. And there's so many plays like that where you really could have gotten, and so what end up being touchdown drives could be 3-and-outs or quick stops, get the ball back for the offense. So, yeah, I mean, look, what the film provides is a great opportunity for us to learn, for as coaches to learn, but for the players to learn, I mean, you've got to be on point with your technique when you play against those guys, because if you're not where you're supposed to be, they're going to punish you because of their talent. And but that's going to only help us going forward.
Coach, you have Bubba Bolden out for a targeting penalty. He goes to the bench. Cam Kitchens comes in. Williams comes in. 2 very young guys to be put in a situation. Now, that's great for the future, but it wasn't too big for them.
Yeah, that's always what you're wondering. Cam forced a fumble. That was another weird play that we somehow lost a fumble on review. Seemed like all those kind of weird things went against us, but Cam went in there. He did well. And then James was able to go in there, and James's energy, and he looked right at home in that environment. Because you never know, right? Until you put him in there, you never really know. And now, of course, there's little technique things that alignments and eyes and things like that. They got to get cleaned up, but they ran hard, they tackled well. I think both those guys have a big future for us.
We should mention there are a lot of things that you can play for here, and we'll get to that in a moment. I thought a key swing in the game also, the third quarter. You took the second half kickoff and marched down the field. Can you take us through the sequence between they repel you at the goal line and then turn that into the long pass?
Yeah, it was that was a critical situation in the second half. Really a 14-point swing. You know, we rip off the long run. It's about 3rd and 6 or 7 or so. Chaney gets down to the end zone. It's a little bit hard to tell whether he's in or not, right? And we knew we were going to go for it. That's why we ran on 3rd down. We knew we were going to go for it. So, so we've got the sneak play called, and you know, part of being a tempo offense, you got to get the ball spotted. And they're slow spotting the ball, and then you know, the umpire's trying to get out of the way, and then center judge, he kind of jumps in, and Derek kind of turns and looks at him, and you know, in all that time, Alabama's getting ready. You know, I mean, the whole point is you're going to try to sort of surprise them, A, on the 4th down decision to go, and then B, on getting lined up quickly in a formation we hadn't been in, and snap the ball. And now I'll say I got to give them credit. They had some guys that outcompeted some of our guys in terms of the way that they played and the way we blocked those guys. Where Derek didn't have a chance to get over the top of the pile and get the ball in the end zone. So you turn it around, you give them the ball at the 1 yard line. That's kind of an emotional, you know, kick in the gut, right? You know, you get them in a 3rd down right off. Well, the 1st down they run it, 2nd down they go to throw it, and you think you got a safety.
Right.
And looking back, you know, one of the regrets I have in the game, I probably should have called timeout after that, because I think everybody, those two emotional moments, the getting stopped on the goal line, and then the, you know, feeling aggrieved of not getting the safety and not a great explanation why. I just felt like we were all probably a little bit, you know, not on our game. We go man coverage on 3rd down, and they fake it crossing route. The guy comes back across. Now I'll tell you, when you talk about their new personnel, the wide receiver transfer, the Williams kid from Ohio State, he changed them. I mean, the guy runs 10.5, and you know, Gervin Hall could fly. He was our deep middle safety on that, and for Gervin to not even get him on the ground, that was different. But that sequence right there, obviously, you know, that was hard on our players, you know, because right there you feel like you got a chance to get a score, and you give them a score, and that was difficult to take.
Coach, let's go back to Donald Chaney, and not a lot of yards, not a ton of carries, but I saw a lot of hope. But what a powerful guy. I mean, you know, he's hard to bring down, and he understands what his role is, and he doesn't mind dipping in there in between the tackles.
Well, I think that's the key with Don, is that Don just does a good job of just trusting his blocking and sticking it in there. You know, you when you play any front, but for sure a front like Alabama's, you can't dance, right? Because the blocks, if the blocks are made, they're not going to be held for very long. You know, the way that they play, and Don did. You know, he rammed it in there, ran hard. You know, we've obviously, he's been in and out of the lineup in the summertime and training camp and stuff. So it was just good to have him available, and I look forward to seeing him run more and more as these weeks come up.
All right, this week, the home opener. I know you're excited about that. App State comes to town. I think the players will be excited as well, and a lot of things still on the table for the University of Miami. In fact, the entire season, all the goals are still there. We'll talk about that with Hurricanes head coach Manny Diaz right after this.
If you train like a pro, then you should be treated like a pro. Much like the human body, our team of sports medicine experts moves as one to achieve a singular goal. Recover your game.
They cheer, they yell, they scream for the best moves. And the Miami Hurricanes are going to show you why they'll dominate the field this season. But for the best moves off the field, Good Greek Moving and Storage is the team you can rely on. We ensure a stress-free move on time and on budget, locally or nationwide. And now, Good Greek is the official mover of the Miami Hurricanes. Let Good Greek be your official mover too.
Good Greek Moving and Storage, your superhero movers.